To order. Lord, we just thank you for the day today and just be with us and help us to make the best decisions for the city and to work out issues and make good resolutions. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes and reports as presented?
I make a motion.
Delmer and David seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. How about, is there a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Dot,
Second it.
Donnie, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we can pay the bills. Citizen comments, or do you guys want to wait till Chris is done with his presentation if you had questions, or do you have something else that you want to talk about?
I'm here for Chris's presentation.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to Chris.
I just wanted to give you guys we've been talking a little bit about the demolition project, so kind of give you guys an update on how that's going. Unfortunately, we've had some delays, as you're aware of. The biggest concern has been the commercial properties on the square. I think y'all are familiar with that it's a historical district, so it's got a lot of protections related to that. One of the pieces of your CDBG environmental assessment is the State Historical Preservation Office review. They call it an adverse effect, is what you want to avoid. That's automatically an adverse effect because it is an historical district, regardless of the fact that they're going to fall in their past repair. It's still an adverse effect. So what's now required? We approached it from the standpoint that they are an adverse effect to the rest of the district, or the historic district, because they're in such ill repair. They're going to fall down. They're probably going to damage the other historic buildings. They're preventing access to the other historical buildings. We approached them that this project was removing that adverse effect, but unfortunately that, I don't know, doesn't apply with them. So we tried. Their requirements are pretty extensive as far as a process, and I don't want to scare you when I say extensive, because the end results aren't as extensive, but it's the process that's extensive. So the city is required to contact the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to make them aware that there is this adverse effect, and to request it's like a notification basically. So you're going to tell them that this is the situation. There are these historic buildings that we plan to take down. Do you all want to participate in that process and give us any feedback as far as so that notification, they are required to be allowed 15 days to reply to that if they want to participate or not. What their participation looks like, I'm not sure. My understanding is generally they don't participate on small projects like this. So we're kind of under the assumption that they won't participate. That would just leave it then to the city and the State Historical Preservation Office to come to an agreement on what it will take for them to allow us to take those buildings down. That comes in the form of a memorandum of agreement, an MOA. Sorry, we use all kinds of acronyms, but so that'll be a document that we will negotiate with DNR to get approval on. We have a lot of examples of things that have worked. Small communities like this that have had similar situations. The MOA typically entails taking historic photographs of the building and documenting the history of the building. Unfortunately, they require that to be done by a certified historian. So it just adds more cost to this project, which can be covered by the grant. it just adds time to the process. You have to, we have to negotiate this MOA first and get SHPO, State Historical Preservation's office approval of it, which takes time. We have to notify the ACHP, this Advisory Council of Historic Preservation, get them involved or not. All of us negotiate what we think is an MOA, which from my experience, what I've seen is it's pretty standard what they do in these projects, but we still have to go through the process of negotiating it. So instead of them just saying, hey, here's what it takes to do this, and we say okay, and we get it done in 10 days, we have to go through this whole process. It's potentially going to take 30 days or 60 days to do. And in the end, then we'd have to go you have to basically contact those people, get an estimate, and then get a bid and hire them to do that. So, and within this process, we were able to work with SHPO to get a clean record on the residential properties. So we do have the clearance from SHPO to move forward with those. So potentially we could complete the environmental assessment on them. Unfortunately, CDBG, they don't prohibit you from splitting those up, but they recommend that you don't do that. So they've been kind of steering us towards trying to keep them together. We're still kind of negotiating with them on that to see if that's going to continue to be their position, if this process is going to take an extended amount of time, if it's going to take more than 60 days, for example. Would they allow us to move forward just with the residential? So that may be potentially your all's decision to make at some point in time. So we're continuing to work on that side of it. That's probably as clear as mud. I don't know if you guys have questions as far as where that's at or what we're doing to kind of try to clean it up, or any input as far as you want us to share with them as far as like a preference. I mean, I'm assuming that you all would be okay with separating them out and going ahead and moving forward with the residential while we waited on the commercial.
My only
Yeah.
fear would be is like if we did all the residential and then there's not enough to tear those buildings down.
True. That's one definite option, and that's really why, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of why they don't want you to split them up, because traditionally the one bid's going to be a more economical. It's going to be a better price. So yeah, that is a potential. So
But if we don't go ahead and go with it, we might not even get it, you think, or not?
you will get the clearance on this building. They've already said that it's just a process. They told me 6 months to a year to get this done. I told them hogwash. There's no reason for that. We're gonna, and I understand now why, because initially their letter came to us and said, hey, that the agency, CDBG, which would be HUD, it's their responsibility to contact this advisory council on historic preservation. They'll start that ball rolling, and it was like, okay. And so we waited a little bit, and then I reached out to them and said, hey, would you mind CCing us on that? I've never been through this process. I just want to follow along and learn how it works. Plus, without saying, we want to monitor that you're doing it and everything. And it took a week to get a response and find the right person that handled that. And then they came back and said, well, that's wrong. We don't, our policy is that's the city, that's us, that's the city, the administration. That's your responsibility to reach out to these people. So we could have theoretically been sitting there 30 days, waiting for them to do this notification, and they never would have done it, and then we would have figured it out. So we've cut out a month right there, and I feel like that's probably a lot of this is just, it sits on people's desks, so we're just doing due diligence to make sure that it's not sitting on anybody's desk longer than is acceptable. And so I get to be the kind of the jerk, I call them and say, hey, where you at? You told me we were going to do this, and like we're at that right now. The DNR is, they said, hey, we'll look at your because we have to send an official letter to this Advisory Council of Historic Preservation, and they're notorious for kind of their dot your I, cross your T. If you mess anything up, they'll send it back and start it all over again. So we're like, all right, we're gonna do our best to get that together. And DNR, the guy at DNR I'm working with said, well, if you want, I'll take a look at that, you know. And I said, hey, great, you know, absolutely. You know what they're looking for. That would be awesome. So I've drafted it, sent it to him, and he's had it for a week, and we have, you know, so we're at the stage where we're probably better off just to go ahead and send it in, and then if they're not going to reply anyway, we start that clock moving. If they are going to reply and say you did something wrong in the letter, it's really not going to take any more time for them to do that. Then we've already, we're sitting waiting on their advice on how to do it right.
So that's the letter that they have 15 days to reply?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know that there's any immediate action. Potentially, I mean, at some point we may have to come to that, you know, we're going to have to decide we're going to go one way or the other. I mean, I think my recommendation right now would be to give me a little more time to work this through and see if we can keep them all together. But there will be discussions about this MOA, this memorandum of agreement. Hope I don't have to say that anymore tonight. I'm just going to say MOA. Okay, so we'll have those conversations. I suspect that they'll be in agreement with what they've done. I looked at South Shelby, Milan, you know, similar sized communities. They've all been very consistent on what they've requested and required. So I really suspect that's what'll transpire here. So, but we'll get that, and that's one of the things that found out in this process is we can already go ahead and kind of start those conversations with SHPO and this ACHP, this federal group that may participate. We can already go ahead and start on the MOA. If they want to participate, then they can come in and participate at that point in time, and we can just say, well, we've just been kind of, you know, we just had some early discussions on what this might look like. Here's what we're thinking. What do you guys think? And then if they don't come in, then we've already started, and we haven't waited 15 days to start. So I've asked them that, you know, hey, here's a draft MOA, which is pretty much just copy and paste of what's in all these other ones, changing out, you know, the addressing and everything, and say, would something like this suffice? Or do you guys have thoughts on any additional needs for anything specific to this project? And waiting on their response on that. So
is there anything else that we need to be doing?
No, I mean, okay. Other than just be prepared that we'll bring it to you at some point that we may have to make that decision. And that's kind of the gist of this tonight is wanted to just kind of, I'm not keeping you in the loop. I could have kept you in the loop better, but keep you in the loop where we're at this point so that you're aware that we're not just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. We are working on it. Don't want to weight you down with a bunch of stuff that you have no control over, but also just kind of be prepared that we might have to make that decision, and instead of coming in here and blindsiding you and say, hey, we're stuck, this is what you're going to have to do. So so you guys can give thought if there's any concerns or, you know, any advantages that, you know, I mean, you may ultimately want to do that, but
does the city have to vote on deciding if they want to go with an MOA right now?
No, because we don't, I mean, they have no option other than to do that to get this through SHPO. They will have to vote to approve whatever SHPO, and I mean, basically we are negotiating on your behalf of what can be acceptable. We will bring that back to you. I've shared that. I don't know if I've shared that indirectly, but I mean, I can give you all a copy of that I mean, they want some kind of floor plan, like a sketch floor plan of the building. They want exterior and interior photos, and then they want a documented history narrative, which my understanding of that is typically the history narrative is just cut and paste out of the document that they presented to get the historic district recognized. They would have had a description in that application of each of these properties with all of the history of that building already included. So we have to pay a historian to cut and paste that into a report, which I could do, and take pictures, which I could do. And I don't know about the sketch and a floor plan. I probably couldn't do that.
I was wondering if that asbestos estimate that Les had, if that would have a floor plan in it.
It's possible. And I don't know. Again, though, it's not done by a certified historian. Yeah. So, and I'm not sure, you know, if they take that into consideration is, you know, what his certified historian's gonna wanna go in there if it's
Yeah,
got
it's not
certified
safe.
as
Don't-
having asbestos in it, so.
Sorry. Don't we have pictures from the engineer that came through and did the study? You know, they photographed the inside and outside. Like, couldn't we just give them that?
No. I mean, I think technically we could give all those things to a certified historian to include in their $20,000 or $30,000 report, and I shouldn't say that because I joke about that based on my conservative values. I guess it may not be that much. I mean, it may be. You know, I just my history with a lot of these projects is that, you know, I mean, we're doing a lot of things that are really kind of redundant and unnecessary, but I don't mean to say that to like belittle a certified
Yeah.
historian. I mean, they've
Yeah.
done a ton of work to get their degree, and so they deserve
Yeah.
whatever, you know. It's kind of like
Wait,
I
where
joke
do
about
we find
engineering
this
too.
person?
Their DNR has a certified approved
Oh,
list,
okay.
so yeah. So and
So-
I've already reached out. There's one actually in Bentonsport, which is right. I don't
Yeah.
know if you know where it's right across the Iowa line there. I just reached out to them. Just hey, don't know if you can help me or not. I said never done this before. Any idea what something like this would cost, so that I could come down here and not throw out crazy
Yeah.
numbers to you guys. And nobody would. I talked to 2 or 3, and nobody would really give me a. And what we will do too, I mean, it's included in it can be covered in the grant, but that is going to take away from, you know, what could be spent on these buildings. So potentially, worst case scenario, this costs a lot more money than we think it would, and then we have to not be able to do a house or two, you know. And so, but with that understanding too, is if anything we can do to help, like, if it only has to be photos that are included in an official report, they don't have to be taken by those. I mean, we'll volunteer to take photos, or, you know, or cut and paste the history into a narrative, or whatever we can do to help keep the cost down, so that we can keep as many of these properties in.
And Chris, you're sure that the MOA will require an historical review by this historian?
Not 100% certain. That's just kind of the standard that I've seen in pretty much every one like this. So
Okay.
we do have I mean, it's an agreement. It's a negotiated agreement. So we can always, you know, well, they want, you know, we can barter basically, you know.
And you're negotiating with the SHPO for that.
Yes, absolutely. And they're great people to work with, and we look forward to making those negotiations. And we anticipate them being very friendly and eager to, you know, easy to work with. As they watch this, right?
Yeah.
So once the project gets started and approved, is there a deadline?
Typically, it's
If
60
it
days. So once, I mean, again, unfortunately, this stuff it makes no sense sometimes in how all this works, but we go through all this environmental process, get everything cleared, get everything authorized, then we have to go out for bid for a inspection. The demolition inspection is one required, so we have to hire somebody to come in and do an official documentation of all the buildings. Used to be we did that, but they no longer allow. It has to be somebody independent of, and so that's what actually will ultimately create your bid specs. I mean, there will be building dimensions. There'll be, if there's any wells or cisterns or anything like that, basements, outbuildings, what goes, what stays, a lot of just all the details, so you have as much detail in your bid specs as possible. So when you go to bid, the people that are potentially bidding on this know exactly what they're bidding on. So that you have to put that out for bid, get people respond, then you hire somebody to do that, then they have to have the time to come do that, and so that takes time. And then once that's done, within that process, you actually do the asbestos first. So you go through the asbestos inspections and all that first, then you do the demolition inspection, then you because you have to have the asbestos included in your description of each building, so that again the contractors know. Then we go out for bid for demolition, actual demolition and asbestos abatement, which would be the removal. So there's 3 cycles of advertising, getting responses, hiring, waiting for the results. So yeah, it takes a lot more time than we ever want to consider, but So we have to, and there's specific requirements of how long you have to advertise for, how long you have to give them to respond, and a little bit of bureaucracy involved, I guess. I'm sure that's not what you guys want to hear. You're ready to get these down, and so I think we are too. I mean, we want to move through this so that you guys can get this project wrapped up and have a good feeling for how this works and what your next project might want to look like, as far as an infrastructure or whatever. So, but I know when people hear, hey, we got the grant, I'm sure they're hounding you. Well, what's going on? Why aren't the buildings down? Most of them just haven't ever been through this process to know that it usually takes a year, and that scares the heck out of people when they hear that. It's not people dragging their feet. It's just they have these mandated, you have to advertise for 2 weeks, or to allow everybody to any potential bidders to be involved, engaged, and
Do y'all have any more questions for Chris?
So what's the next step?
So we are working right now we have started the MOA negotiations with SHPO. We are waiting on them to review the draft letter to this advisory council on historic preservation. I have to keep looking at that. I should just say ACHP. So I emailed him back today and said, hey, I appreciate your willingness to review this, but I'm at the stage, if you don't have time to, or I tried to word it to where, it's like, hey, hurry up and get this done, but we want to go ahead and start it. So I know you're busy and probably haven't had a chance to look at it, but I'm going to go ahead and send it tomorrow if I don't hear back from you. So we'll send that in. That'll start that 15-day clock for that. We are already and part of that is the guy that I'm waiting on to review this is also the guy that I have to negotiate the MOA with. So I don't want to, I don't want to argue with the teacher that's going to continue to be grading our test every day after this. So trying to keep that, as personable and friendly and amicable as possible. So, but he's already got what I would propose for an MOA, and so I think he's probably a little bit new to some of this. So I get the sense that he's probably going to want to wait until we know for sure if these guys are going to participate, and then once we get that done, I think it should go pretty quickly as far as. I can't imagine they're going to introduce anything more dramatic or drastic, and we will definitely say any chance we can not do this with a certified person. We have all of the historic narrative right here. We have the photos. Is the sketched floor plan absolutely necessary? We don't feel like it's probably unsafe for somebody to get in there and try to do any of that. We'll work on that negotiation piece, and that would be the ideal situation is they kind of come down off of that requirement and say, yeah, let's display some common sense here, and let's only require that you have pictures in the narrative, and then we can complete that and move on. So there's still hope of that. I don't want to come in here blowing smoke like we're going to get that, probably not, honestly, but there's still that chance. So hopefully I can get back with you guys by next meeting, if not sooner than that. Just say, hey, we've got this resolved and we're ready to.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then a totally different topic, but I know in the past you guys I think you, Linda, mentioned sidewalk projects. That TAP application cycle is opened up now. It's an 80-20 grants from MoDOT, so you can get 80% of the project paid for, up to $600,000 in grant money. So that would mean it's at $120,000 in local match if you went for that full. It takes quite a bit of local match to bring all that money down, and the minimum is $100,000. So you can do anything between $100,000 and $600,000 as far as if you had some sidewalks that you wanted to apply for funding for, and that traditionally is going to be geared towards connectivity. So It's not really a tool necessarily to kind of go in and repair all of your bad sidewalks. It's to ensure that your key facilities are connected or your key traffic patterns are connected. So like, the shopping area or the grocery store or doctor office, pharmacy, school, parks, those types of things are connected to where you can do that. So generally that will require you to look at, you have to get some preliminary engineering done for that. Generally the engineers, consultants will work with you to try to keep that cost down. They have to charge you, they can't just give it to you, but they generally try to keep it down so that you want to use them, that when it comes time to actually hire the engineer for the true design of the project. So, but we can definitely help you with an application if you're interested, or
Yeah, how age-wise, how old is that? Cause we've had that done.
We had it engineered, we picked our plan.
that shouldn't matter. I mean, because typically what you're required to do in the application would be maps, drawings, and stuff like that. So if you got that, you might have to reach out to them. If
We
it's,
submitted it, you got it up there in your office.
you probably want to do the. See, I think I don't know where we dropped the ball there, but we don't typically
That's
do
what
the
you said.
application. It's
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
usually the engineer does that, but we can help with that for sure. So that's kind of changed because we've been involved with the scoring side of it, and so we've kind of been prohibited from assisting on the application side of it. But probably all you would need to do is get an updated cost, because everybody knows that if it's more than a year old,
It is.
it's going to cost a lot more.
Yeah.
And one thing I did want to mention, I don't want to blow smoke or false hope, but they definitely are. The word today was encourage communities of 5,000 or less. The federal money comes out and it's earmarked based on populations, and for whatever reason, this program actually kind of does follow the true rural definition of, the truest rural definition that you'll find in federal government is 5,000 or less. Some of them say 250,000 or less population is rural. So tangent story there. But anyway, so that there's an opportunity there that your projects are going to be received a little. You're not going to necessarily be competing, because it's really hard to compete against the larger communities, because they typically have a full-blown sidewalk plan, which gets you points on your application. A lot of times they will do more match than the 20% required, which will get them some bonus points. And there's 3 or 4 pieces of that application that they're not. I don't want to say that it's skewed towards larger communities. It's just easier for larger communities to accomplish and get a higher score. So,
But for the match, we can do in kind.
we would need to get that approved. That's my understanding of it, is we would more than likely have to work with the engineer to establish what's needed for this project, and then determine that you could provide those. A lot of times it's like if you guys go in and tear it out or whatever, you can demonstrate that this is what was going to cost to do that, and they will allow you to do that and show that, as instead of you paying the cash to pay somebody to do it, you're simply having you are paying the cash, you're paying your employees to do it. So I don't want to say it's an absolute yes. You have to kind of work through that process, and I would hate for you guys to apply for a significant dollar amount thinking that you could use, that you're not going to have any cash out of pocket and that you could do all that. We would want to work through that to make sure that you don't get overextended, and then them come back and say, no, you can't do that. And then we have to kind of find some money.
So would the grants actually be for this year, or are we looking at next year? Well, as you've seen with this, the application is due mid-July, like July 15th, July 11th, second week of July. They generally take a month to go through them and send them back out. So you would get awarded in probably August, maybe September, at which point in time you could start.
Hopefully there's no historical sidewalks included in this, so, or any sidewalks over bat caves or anything like that, you know, cause you have to go through the environmental process, and it's just really, this is just really kinda snowballed, because like, traditionally, a sidewalk project is not deep excavation, you know, it's not really what I would call heavy dirt work or whatever. So traditionally, they've never required you to do a cultural resource survey, which is to make sure that it's not an Indian burial ground or a cemetery or anything like that. They're now requiring that pretty much on everything. So that just adds, so as far as when you would do the work would probably be next year, if that makes sense. As far as your budgeting and everything. Yeah, so, it takes you 3 to 6 months to a year to work through all of the red tape, I guess is really the best way to explain it. And I don't mean that, I mean, some of it's absolutely necessary, some of it to me is a little excessive, but usually I understand the principle behind it, it just it seems like a little common sense would help us move through a lot of this, but.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to make your meeting go longer than it needed to, but if you guys have any questions, I mean, you guys all, you can definitely reach out. I know City Hall and Linda both have my email and phone number and everything. Anytime you need me to come down, or if you just have a question, let them know and they can contact me or share my phone number or whatever with you guys. And
Did y'all have any more questions?
Just keep on them. We'll get it one of these days, I guess.
well, and we were just kind of jokingly discussing that, as you know, that, I mean, they mess around and it falls in, then it doesn't matter if it's historical or not, but then it becomes an emergency and all this stuff kind of goes out the window, so.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, Kathy?
I gave you the yearly collection report. It has the unpaid real estate tax for 23 and 24. If you note on the 24, the only one that's left is some of the buildings uptown, so that's good. And in regard to 23, they've all been paid, so we have nothing going to the courthouse sale this summer, which is a first for me. I've never had that happen, that we didn't have to collect money. So the taxes for 24, we've got 96% of the real estate tax collected and 91% of the personal property tax. So in regard to the other delinquent accounts, which is the last page, I would propose that we write off 1 through 6. I'd move them to bad debt within our system, and if they move back to Edina and want services here, they have to pay that before they get services again. So I would need a motion and approval to do that. The ones in the middle, I'm still attempting to collect, and then the ones at the bottom are ones that we did collect, so.
Okay, is there a motion to?
Make a motion that we forgive
1 through 6?
deficit 1 through 6.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You looked at me like you were gonna say something.
Stacy, yeah.
What am I missing?
And then I have to take those away from you. Okay, thank you.
Miss Peggy? Or Roger, did you wanna go first?
He's fine.
Okay.
You can if you choose
You
to.
go right ahead, young lady.
Okay, I won't take long.
Okay. I'm wanting.
Just have a couple of things. USDA did approve paying for the pump out of that restricted replacement fund.
Cool.
Yes, very good. So, Martha followed through on that and got that taken care of. We have a couple of budget amendments we need to make. Our unemployment for the maintenance worker that we had to pay for before. We got a bill for $3,520 that we
Is
have
that
to
the work
pay.
comp or unemployment?
Unemployment.
Okay.
And here again, the city did absolutely nothing wrong, but we still have to pay the consequences.
How much was that?
$3,520. So hopefully it's getting to the end of what can be collected, but we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this might be the end of it.
Yeah, if not, we should be close. So that amendment is to the operating account for unemployment, $3,520. We need to, our insurance, in the water fund was over by $2,850. So we need to amend the water fund for insurance, and we also need to amend the sanitation fund for insurance, for $2,000.
So can we do one?
You could do all three
Okay.
together unless you have an objection to one.
No, it needs to be done, so
Is there a motion?
I make that motion that we amend the budget for the operating fund, the water fund and the sanitation.
Second.
Delmer, all in favor?
Alright.
And my other comment is regarding the sidewalks. I was thinking when we had the initial, it was like 250,000 was the total, and we did it in
And we
sections.
just
Does
picked
that
up,
sound
we're
right?
gonna do $100,000.
You remember because you
Yeah,
worked on it.
I thought that was already done.
We got the
Well-
engineer.
Yeah, we did too.
It was, and then regional planning informed us that they had
Whoever
dropped the
was-
ball
Whoever was
Yeah.
supposed to fill out the application never filled it out.
Yeah,
up at Memphis.
I was gonna
And
say,
then-
we had ours covered.
cause I thought we were going towards
Well, they
Dollar
came
General,
back.
which is a, you
And
know,
then, yeah,
Well,
oh yeah,
yeah.
that was selected, the
Yes,
sidewalk to Dollar General,
yes,
Yeah.
plus
we
one
had-
block.
which
We
matches
had
what he
like
was saying
seven of them, we had to
about
come down with three. I think we had
2 or
enough budget
3.
for three of them. We had three.
Well, you selected the
Yep.
sidewalk that goes down, yeah,
Down the hill
And
and
that
then
was
the one
based on
across
the-
from Casey's.
it was based on the funding, and based on the amount of money that you
and
get.
then has to, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
still
I mean,
have those
I
papers
can
at
get all
home.
that paperwork out, we've got it,
Yeah,
but, yeah, we understood they were applying, and then when nothing happened, then the next year, we asked them, and they said, well, she thought she was doing it, and she
Yeah.
thought she was doing it, and nobody did it.
So would that still be in Memphis, we think, or no? The map or what?
Oh, well,
no, we have it.
we've
Oh, we
I
got
have
that,
a copy of one
but they've
too.
got all of it too, I mean,
Right.
because it was submitted to them, yeah.
We can get that together. I have a meeting over there next week, so we can get that all together and I'll make them tell me
Yeah,
exactly
of
what
course,
else we
they
need.
say
I
now
would
we'll
say-
have to have new
yeah.
prices.
He's talking like this is kind of an open window for smaller communities right now.
Mhm.
And that would make a tremendous improvement to our community to get sidewalks done as much as we can possibly do.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we look at it and we've got $300,000 worth, that's gonna give us a responsibility of 60,000.
Mhm.
I would say let's get what we can done, cause we don't always have that open
Yeah.
window.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty rare, actually.
And we need a sidewalk down to Dollar General.
That's, and that
Just
was,
the
Yeah.
buzzing center alone.
Oh, there's
would-
kids going down the
yeah.
highway on scooters the other day.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the main one that was
Yeah.
in the plan, yeah, to do, yeah.
I also like to walk down to Dollar General.
Well, I will
I'm
get
for
with
it.
you and get whatever we gotta get and talk with them next Thursday when I go
Well,
there for meeting.
I'll
and-
get it out of the file, but as I said,
Yeah, we've already got
we'll
all the
see in the
engineering.
file that they have it, I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
But
think that
we
would be a
can-
good thing.
You know, if that's July's gonna be here soon,
Yes.
so if everybody's kind of in agreement with that, we need to get it started. We probably need to have the engineer review costs, because they will be different. And, but, yeah, we need to get that started. The other thing I'm just gonna bring up for you to think about is, without recycling, you know, our costs have gone up in our sanitation fund. I'm watching it. I want you to be aware that I'm watching it. Margaret was telling me the cleanup cost $5,000.
Yes, over 5,000
Over
for
five-
spring cleanup.
The spring cleanup was over $5,000. So there are, you know, we may need to evaluate if and how that is done in the future. And I think Ty has some pretty good ideas and suggestions regarding that.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sure you've talked with him about it, but, probably we need to, cause I am gonna watch this, but, you know, without the recycling, I have no doubt we're gonna have to raise the rates. So that is in the horizon, hopefully we can wait till budget time. So, okay, that's it.
Okay, Roger.
I don't have much. Surgery went well. I did an exceptional good job. Spring cleanup was good. There's still a lot of stuff on the ground. That's why we decided to have it over there. It's not in the way. They've been working hard just to get her done. Mowing, weed eating, rock hauling. Ball field sign blew over down there, so the wood was broke. The other wood was rotten. So we made it out of metal, and it's up on the ball field side. You'll see a new Pauline Campbell sign there.
It looks good.
It does look good.
Yeah.
The railroad ties that was around the playground equipment down there was all rotten, and it's been redone, all new railroad ties. It looks good too. Semi parking down here at the city lots, but yeah, how y'all wanna do this? Cause some of them just drop the trailers and leave them forever. And it's getting crowded down there, and either we're gonna have to make room there or we're gonna tell them to have to park somewhere else, cause it's crowded down there.
Isn't there one guy that pays to park
There's
there?
a couple.
Well, we have two that pay, and of course they're paying because they have outlets for winter time. That's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
And of course, originally, if some of you folks recall, they parked uptown here.
Yes.
And that's why the city changed and allowed them to park down there, because we didn't want them parking up here on the, they
Yeah.
parked, you know, like along
On the
by
good asphalt.
Stretched asphalt, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we put signs down there saying it's just a weekend or overnight deal?
I didn't know if you wanna do that, but I could take them millings off of Glove Factory Hill, and I could take them for where we mix our mat down to the ditch, fill that in right there, and we can make parking for them if that's what you wish to do, but I need to know if that's what you wanna do.
Well, I don't people just don't have their trailer. I think it's just for parking is all we need.
Yeah, well, there's enough down there that it's still a load,
Full?
yes, it's full. There's getting to be a lot of truck drivers in Edina.
Some of them's parking them at their house over there, by the church. God, what's that boy's name? He bringing a loaded truck on the highway, on that street. And parking at his house.
Whereabouts is it, David?
I'm trying to think of that.
By the Baptist church?
Behind the Baptist church there.
That's behind.
Ron York's, rental's there, right behind it to the south.
Car?
Is it?
Yeah, Chris Carr, I bet.
It's a loaded truck on that street. We don't need it.
It doesn't need to be on there, so I
Yeah.
need to take care of that. But I can take that milling and spread them out, if that's what y'all want me to. That way, that'll give them a place to park, and we don't use it, we mow it anyway, so I can do that, if that's what you want me to do.
Clean it up.
Yes, it cleaned it up, too. Y'all okay with that? That'll probably give them plenty of room to park,
They give you
and
room to
stay
walk
out of
in.
our way,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it'd be nice to give them a place to park. I mean, they
Yeah.
live here.
There's
Yeah,
nowhere
I'd rather
else.
keep them down there than on the road.
Yes.
No, not along the streets.
So the crew did a good job while I was gone, so their trash truck, it had something break on the top. They've got it welded and fixed for now, but we're gonna have to get a better piece from Hoover's and fix it just a little bit better, so. Since I'm back, I'll call that guy down there and see what they'll do about anything at all.
On warranty.
Cause I don't know if it is or not.
And Hoover,
Well, what
right?
the deal is the piece on it is too short. They need longer ears, and when it got up there and got a bind, and it just ripped it off there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna see if he'll pay and fix for it.
That's probably why it was so thin, you reckon?
Well, it's
To let that
half inch
happen.
steel is what it
Well, that's
was.
quite a bit.
But when you get a bind, you got that cylinder on there, and you only got a piece moving like that. It should be that long.
Yeah.
And it caught or it did, and something went.
Your thought is take it to Hoover's and let them weld it?
They welded it already. They patched it up and get
Ty
it.
and them did, so,
Yes.
yeah.
I did, yeah.
But he said it's not gonna hold, so he said we needed,
No.
for a chance
They'll
we
have it
get,
on Wednesday.
call
They got
them,
it
set up
together
where
for
they can have it
Thursday.
today.
And
Perfect, you're on it.
Questions? That's all I have.
So you're back now, or part-time? Yeah,
7 hours was the load today.
yes.
We'll see what happens tomorrow. But,
We do it, Raj.
no, I can't, so. It hurts every day, folks. I'll just tell you, it's been a hard one.
Is it a different kind of hurt?
Yes. Where it all started in my main lower back is where it hurts now. Before it was in my foot, I limped a lot. Them nerves and stuff have been fixed where I don't do that, so.
Good.
It's just a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it went together real good, so
Good.
I gotta wait, but I don't want to. I'm ready to go. It's hard,
Mhm.
but I have to be good.
Yeah.
you healed up.
That's all I got, so. The sign down there, Pauline sign turned out good. You ought to see that. That cost $100 to get done. So. Pretty nice.
Alrighty.
Ball fields look good. We had a lot of comments on that.
Yeah, we worked on that before I left even. I had a guy deliver the railroad ties and they put them in there while I was gone, and the picture looks better in person. You all need to go down and look at it. It looks real good.
Yep.
Looks real good. They didn't make it 17 sided, it's a
It's
square.
square. They made it bigger. Let's
Looks-
get mow.
Looks good.
Yeah, they
Looks
did.
real good. Yeah. That's all I have.
All right.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Alrighty. There's a request to close East Monticello Street between the courthouse and the community center on Saturday, June 7th for the Knox County Rescue Squad barbecue.
Is that north side of the courthouse?
Yeah.
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 I motion to close it.
I second.
Okay. Rick and David.
All in favor? Alright. Well, most of what I had was what Chris was gonna talk about, so I don't have much to add.
What are we gonna do about the dogs?
Well, what, I read the ordinance. I think the one Zaringers that they said was one of them that there was a complaint on, has never been registered. Most of the dogs that are biting are not registered, they're not licensed. So we have no idea these people have dogs until,
Or
This
what they
happens.
have, if they have them registered, don't they have to identify the breed or no?
they do, but, and I may have missed it
People
in the
can
ordinance.
lie?
Is there, do we require them proof of rabies and insurance?
No insurance, just.
Just the
First
rabies
of all, they have to
vaccination.
register them with the city, which they have to have their information from the vet that
Okay.
shows they've had
Dogs
their.
and cats.
If they're not registered, can we get like some kind of animal control to come and
Well,
get rid of them, or pay someone from out of town, or do anything that?
I think according to the ordinance, you have to send them a letter and they've got so many days to either get the dog registered or get rid of it.
Those we're talking about, they're not allowed in town anyway.
Well, but you still have to give them X number of days to get
I
rid
think
of that.
people don't realize that there's an ordinance like
Yeah.
that, and we're gonna have to do something to make them.
So do we need to run something in the paper then?
Well, whenever anybody comes to town, I mean, people that have lived here for 50 years should know this because it was highly publicized
Mhm.
about pit bulls and Rottweilers, but anybody new that comes to town, when they sign up for water,
They should.
they sign the form, we read it to them and tell them that, they're signing the part that says they understand that they cannot have pit bulls or Rottweilers.
It'll be good enough.
So they signed something, so actually they're signing, saying that they don't have a dog.
No, they're signing that
That they
says
don't
that they
have a-
know you cannot have a pit bull or Rottweiler. You can't even have grandma's dog come to town to visit if it's a pit bull or Rottweiler.
So I was just trying to say if we can go forward and have like someone come in that they could just take the dog, get rid of it. It's not registered. It's supposed to be, they signed something.
What's the
Cause it's not getting done. That's nothing doing. People's getting,
Yeah, and
kids
see,
gonna
I
get
got
bit,
lied
what's
to
gonna
by
happen.
the person I went to see. They said, oh yeah, we went, and I asked Margaret, we couldn't find where that one has proved a vaccination or is registered.
I had an individual call me about the first one. And he walks a lot, him and his wife, and there's a lot of pit bulls in the city of Edina.
Oh, yeah. And
So the
nobody's
one I
not
talked
doing
to,
nothing about it.
I told them, I said, this has to be solved, and they swore to me that it had a shock collar and the battery had gone bad, is why it did this, and it won't happen again,
Well, was it registered?
Well, I think.
and it's not registered.
Well,
And that's
there's-
the
They
same
told
one.
me that they had done that.
yeah.
I believe that's the same one that ripped the sleeve off Jeff Doss when he was running for coroner.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I don't know, I can't say because I didn't know about the
Same dog.
Jeff Doss deal.
And Ryan went by and said it was gone. Remember that? We had that deal to get rid of it, and he came in here and said that they're all gone. He ain't seen it.
I seen it.
I've seen it too, yeah. So we need to do something. I don't know what to do, but
What's the fine for violating the ordinance? What's the consequence?
like $50 probably. Ain't
Does
nothing.
it,
Need to do a $600,
It is the
$700
longest
fine.
ordinance in
And
the world.
We need, I mean, the
Problem is they're not supposed to
person
be
who
here anyway.
enforces our ordinance
I know like the,
can actually
the
go
ones in my
write a ticket,
neighborhood,
but
you know,
Yeah.
they'll say they're gone, they just put them inside.
Mhm.
You know, they got a big pen in the backyard, there's none there, well then, so you hear somebody got attacked again.
So what's the fine?
I couldn't find it quickly, it's like a 20-page ordinance.
My thought is
When we
that,
had a
What?
pound, we could impound them, but where do we keep them?
Yeah.
If you went and picked it up, what are we gonna do with it?
I think
Can't you
mandatory,
get
they need to get,
animal control out of Kirksville come and get them?
they gotta be gone,
Well, I mean,
period.
let them take care of the bill. They want their dog.
You're just gonna go get it and bring it
They
back.
won't come to
Kirksville won't
Edina.
come down and
No.
get our animals.
they won't come and, that would be too easy.
Well, and the city
Well,
will.
somebody-
Well, you say anybody do something, they'll do it.
I think somebody needs to knock on the door and give them 5-day notice or something, say, you know, it's a pit bull, it needs to be out without the city limits within so many days. You know,
Do we have to notify them by certified mail, or?
We need a person to enforce our ordinances, and that person that enforces our ordinances does exactly what it says. You know, that's where we're lacking right now.
This is just a no-win
Because-
situation.
Because he could actually, you know, if we had a person enforcing our ordinances, we can go and write a ticket and.
Is he gonna come back?
No.
Well, we need to pursue, get somebody a bit new. Or hire a
Until
part-time person to fill in or something.
Yeah, the other thing with I don't know that it needs to say pit bull or Rottweiler, it just needs vicious dogs. You know, it needs to be a more broad, you know, you get a German Shepherd that's treated bad or trained, you know, he could be just as vicious as a pit bull. You know, so it needs to be a more open.
When you get back into the regular, aside from that, it does talk about a vicious dog or animal, a vicious animal.
The problem is we ain't got nobody to enforce it.
Right.
yeah,
We
But
tried
it's
and
just that
tried, but
the
it never
pit
gets
bulls and
done.
Rottweilers are banned. but it also includes a Staffordshire Terrier, American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, or any breed that resembles those dogs. So it even looks like
Well,
it.
could a guy send the people that we know got pit bulls and Rottweilers, send them a letter showing that they're not supposed to have their dog in town? Send it to them with certified mail?
We don't know, I don't know anybody personally that has a pit bull or Rottweiler in town. We have lots of
Instances where they
hearsay,
were,
lots of, I saw this or I saw that.
That's where we need somebody to go knock on the door. And you knock
Yeah.
on the door down there in my neighborhood, you're gonna get greeted with one.
yeah.
Dot knocked and I knocked today. Nobody answered.
Well, I did get answered from the son that was on duty when the dog did it, and he told me exactly how it happened and on and on. And I was like, we need to just not have this happen again. It's whatever it takes.
How many strikes did he get? I mean, that's number 2 for that dog.
I couldn't
And
prove
it could have
the
been,
dog,
it could have been
but
worse.
they did admit to the one that, you know, the couple. They did say, oh yeah, the shock collar battery was dead, and I only went to the bathroom for 5 minutes. And so I listened to the story. I said, we just can't have this happen again. Do whatever it takes to not have it
That's our own
happen.
people. Somebody's gonna be in a lot of trouble,
That's right.
and we might be one of them.
So at least this way, I
If one of my kids get bought on
Told
this,
them,
it's gonna
yeah.
be a lot big deal, I guarantee you that.
My daughter gets it, it'll be a big deal.
Yes.
It'll be a real big deal.
Well, Debbie spent 3 weeks in therapy after it chased her down,
For
what dog was that?
or-
that white pit bull. That block from our house.
Oh,
I was gonna ask, have you talked to your wife's cousin anymore
Yeah,
about
he's
part-time?
working away.
yeah.
Where do you live?
Tell me
You know,
get your man.
it's that same dog,
I don't even know if I can pet it.
I know, right?
Sharon Schubert,
Oh, there you go.
got over in her yard, chased her cat away up in a tree. You know, it took 2 hours to
So,
get her cat down.
Whose is this? Is it one that we've been mentioning?
Zeringer's.
Oh, okay.
Mark, do they need to come in and file a complaint and sign it if they know which dog it is?
They can, I had somebody
But I
do
mean-
it today, but it goes nowhere because we don't have anybody to act upon. I mean, I told these people that came in, I said, we currently don't have anyone to enforce our ordinances.
Anybody can knock on the door. The county can knock on the door, but we, like she says, we have no,
Yeah,
we gotta move forward.
Yeah.
As for pit bulls, the only time that I really would say that I saw a pit bull in my neighborhood, it's no longer here. It's that lady that was behind me that moved. They had this puppy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a pit bull if I've ever seen one. Luckily, it has left town. And that's the only one that I really could
You sure? it left
honestly
town?
say. What?
They might just took it in the house.
No, she's gone.
That's what they do, you tell them about
No,
that.
no,
and they-
she
they
is
take 'em
gone.
in the
She was
house
on-
and they hide
She
them.
was on our
house is sold, yeah.
list, yeah. I shouldn't say that, but I just did. Sorry.
No, we're gonna have to move forward on getting the issue resolved, I guess. Not guessing, we do. We're gonna have somebody to enforce it quick. I mean, all of them could have been very bad. Very, very bad.
The one that attacked the therapy dog, was that the same one or was that a different
That's
one?
the one that.
And I went to the door
Okay.
and that was the shock collar and I went to the bathroom for 5 minutes.
That was a long bathroom trip.
But he did run out and grab it late, you know, like
Yeah.
closing the barn door after the.
So there's
Yeah.
2 main ones that we know of right now.
I guess just keep your eyes open, but like Margaret said and we all said, we can't enforce it if we have no law to enforce it with. It's something
With them
we-
being like a vicious dog, that's like a criminal thing. Could the county do it?
You guys would have to have an agreement in the past the sheriff has made agreements with the different townships to enforce the ordinances because they're pretty much for enforcing state law.
Well, when I talked to Carl before about getting additional help, they said they cannot do ordinances. They can enforce criminal law. If they came down the street and seen a dog attacking somebody, they can deal with that. But they won't do ordinances. That's the city's responsibility.
So as far as like, have you talked to your city attorneys to see if maybe you could just turn over the evidence to them and they could take it on as far as filing whatever court needs to be, you know what I mean, as far as kind of a workaround
We'd have to take it to the prosecutor.
that would leave out that would leave, you know what I mean, that would leave out the law enforcement end of it. So basically, you know, what anything that gets filed in court is a collection of evidence that's compiled and then submitted as evidence to the court. So if someone else were to collect the evidence and turn it over to the city attorneys, and then they could push forward with probably civil, you know, to enforce whatever the agreement they make when they sign up for service, as far as whatever and you guys are going to have a work session after this. Maybe you need to discuss, this might be on the list of things to discuss as far as adjusting the, you know what I mean. Also, that ordinance is so old, it would probably be a very good idea to give the ordinance over to the city attorneys to have them go through it and make sure that it's going to be able to stand up in court after all this time. Maybe weigh it against some, you know, maybe simpler, less wordy ordinances that are not 20 pages long.
With all cost of enforcement being to the dog owner.
Right, because a lot of that stuff goes down in civil. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, you know, a municipal violation is different than a violation of like a state law. You know, it's not like you're going to get a felony charge of bad dog ownership. So anywho, just some things to think about without. And in the past, sheriffs have made agreements with townships. It sounds like Carl's not doing that. I'll have to talk to him about it. You know, there was a opportunity, I think earlier this year, maybe at the end of last year, where Ryan approached the council to fund position at the county level to, you know, give him some help, and the council voted that down.
Because Carl said they would not provide us any more service than what we're already getting. So why give him $40,000 to get nothing more than what you're getting?
Yeah, for that amount, you might be able to just hire
Exactly.
a second, you know what I mean, a backup person. I mean, that's.
We could buy David a uniform. And a gun.
I don't know a lot about it. I guess I'm gonna have to do some research on like maybe city marshal, like what is that, or you know what I mean? Like, do you have to be, is that more of like a paperwork job? Do you have to be post certified for that type of thing? Memphis has a city marshal.
I don't know, the last mention we have as city marshal was in the 1951 ordinance, so I think that's a little outdated.
Well, I think they used to have less requirements, but I think they've changed that. I think the
Yeah,
state.
Probably do have to be post certified.
Approved not having a city, I mean, that was an elected position.
Mm-hmm. I agree, we need to do something, but we just gotta figure out what we can do and what would be the best way to do it.
Do we think we ought to put an ad in the paper for some help? What's your thoughts?
We've got our ad in the paper, I mean, we've had it
Nothing?
several months.
Yeah,
We've had two applicants for
Two.
part-time.
Well, go ahead and gets one of them for part-time.
For city work crew.
No.
Police.
I don't remember seeing a police ad in
Oh my
It
gosh,
was.
we had it in February or, you know,
Yeah.
a long time
Oh,
ago.
okay. I was thinking recent.
And we had a couple of applicants, but we, at last month's meeting, it was kind of.
Good little session, yeah.
We were waiting, you know, to get some input for selecting someone. And you said you would obviously wanna talk to both of them before selecting either one, because they, you know, they don't know what hours you were talking about or what kind of pay.
I guess we could set up a time to meet with them.
Yeah.
Have to do a special closed session.
Best for all of us to be here to that, hear all the sides, that's for sure. Alright,
When would be a viable time for you all?
Well, we, actually have to know when they were available also. When are we available, when are they available, right?
do I have to be on time? I mean,
We prefer you to.
2 minutes, I think, wasn't it? Before you come in? No, maybe not.
I think that was it. You need to get back to ball practice, and you were supposed to be somewhere 10 minutes
Yeah,
prior.
And
So-
I was mowing, and I looked down and thought, oh no.
And when Rick showed up, we're like, let's do this, so
Oh,
they
yeah.
can get back to where they need to go.
Yeah, I was double booked, but I figured
Yeah.
now why I was double booked.
I can make it happen anytime.
Okay.
As soon as possible, probably, as soon as they can make an appointment, something's gotta happen.
Okay.
So a lot of times we go with a Monday evening because
Yeah,
people seem to,
Mondays are fine with me.
people seem to have things
So-
on every other night.
I guess, contact them and
See
pick a
if-
day, say this, can you come this day, and if
So,
yes,
see if Monday, a week from tonight, are we talking about?
Do them both in one night?
Oh, yeah.
Just
we
at
are
different
definitely.
Yeah,
As much
Have
trouble
one
as it is to
outside,
get the board together.
wave them in when the other one leaves.
That's what I'm getting back. When's Ryan coming back? Anybody know?
his last day of FMLA, he should
I
be
put that
up
on
with
my
FMLA around the 23rd, I think.
So what happened to the 19th?
Special, see if they can, the two applicants that we had for police can come that day. That evening, we'll have a special meeting and interview them.
So, but the 19th?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you say about the 23rd?
Somebody asked when is Ryan done with his FMLA?
Well, might be him if we're gonna hire somebody.
Should be around
It's
the
like the
23rd.
End of the month.
So
Yeah.
are we talking 6, 7, what time are we talking?
6.
Whatever time they can come.
Yeah.
in the
Right,
evening.
okay.
So,
I just need
but
to
for
put
the
something in my
board,
calendar.
Does 6 work for the first one, or you wanna do it like 7 and 8?
Can y'all be here at 6?
Is that too
7 and
early?
8 would be.
It'd be better for me.
Okay.
It's like trying to pull teeth in here by 5.
7 and 8, okay.
So we'll aim for 6 for the, and 7, I guess. 6 and 6:30.
6 and 7 on the 19th.
7 and 8.
So when,
Goes through.
And that way we
Six
said
and
7 and 8.
6 and 7.
Texas.
is this gonna be in addition to when Ryan comes back as well, or
You mean the part-time if we hire one? Yes.
does it stay on?
Yeah, it was advertised when he was still working.
I think they were saying it'd be with the farm and all, if we could do it at 7 and 8.
Oh, make it 7 and 8,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it would be in addition to. Yeah. So, do we need to adjourn and then go into work session?
Right, the work session is not part of the meeting. I mean, unless you wanna do it as part
No.
of the meeting, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not closed, it's open to the public, however you wanna do it.
Well, why don't we adjourn and then we'll go into the work session? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
David?
I'll second it.
and Rick.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we are done with the regular meeting, now we will do